Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another episode of What Do You Call It podcast. The host is back, GB, with another episode and a special guest. This guest is like no others. He's the last degenerate of the dungeon, the innovator of insanity, the cutest mutant, punk hunk, Duke of Delusion, and your weirdo hero. My next guest is Randy Myers. How you doing today, mate? You all right?
I'm great. Thank you so much for that wonderful intro. You got so many of my monikers in there.
That's all right. Hopefully I didn't leave anything out.
Well, I mean, there's always something to be left out, but you did really good. Better than most by far.
Appreciate it, mate. That's what I would do. I'm talking to you today and I want to thank you for your time. So it means a lot. So you've been wrestling now for about 20 plus years.
Yes,
and
indeed.
I just want to go back to something I said in the intro, and that was the last degenerate of the dungeon. Now, the reason why I want to go back to that is actually you trained at the famous Hart Dungeon. I want to know, how did you sort of, end up there? And growing up, had you always been a wrestling fan?
Yeah, so I was born and raised in Calgary, Alberta, so where the Hart family is based. So that really gave me a nice stepping stone into working with the Harts.
Yep.
I wasn't always a big wrestling fan. It was always on my peripheral, side kind of knowing it. I had friends that were always really into it when I was really young.
Yeah.
I wasn't into anything really violent. So I would anything that was kind of hyper masculine or hyper violent, I kind of steered away from. Mm-hmm. And then as I got older and testosterone started flowing through my veins a little bit more, then I realized how much wrestling had to offer for me. So then, like I said, being in Calgary, Stampede Wrestling had started up again in 1999. So I was able to go to live shows. And as soon as I went to a live indie show, I was super hooked. Mm-hmm. It made it be from the seeing people on TV, which seems so far away, to seeing people in person, it seemed doable, right? This is achievable. And there's a school right here in Calgary. So Stampede Wrestling, like I said, had started up again. So they had a TV show. And one of their commercial sponsors was BJ's Gym, which was just gym in Calgary that was affiliated with the Harts. And they had the only kids wrestling camp in the world at the time.
Yeah.
And that was being ran by Teddy Hart. And I saw that commercial in between slots on Stampede Wrestling Saturday morning. And I was gave that phone number a call. And then I was this is what I'm going to do. So then I started with Teddy Hart's underage camp, like I said. And then that was kind of a stepping stone again into towards the dungeon.
Oh, cool, man. Is that where you met TJ Wilson and Harry Smith?
Yeah, indeed. Yeah, they were there. They were hanging around BJ's gym, doing incredible moves that I had never even seen before, not on television, let alone live in person. They were doing these incredible things at such a young age. And I was wow. Yeah. I was not an athletic kid. So the idea that people were able to do these kind of things was mind blowing to me, and something that I was I got to get in on the ground floor.
And what was the hardest thing for you to learn when basically to become a pro wrestler?
Oh, geez. I think discipline, I would say. And I think that's something I'm still struggling with. Is just kind of making sure you're staying working always towards that goal, little steps towards that goal every day. And that was something I never really knew until I got into wrestling. It was nothing I'd ever, being that I wasn't from a sports background or anything like that, I never really achieved a goal or anything like that, a long-term goal.
Yeah.
So that's what I learned from wrestling. And that was the hardest thing to learn, was that things aren't going to come quickly and you got to make sacrifices for what you want. So, but it was a thing that I cherish to this day.
Okay, so it was something that you look back and say, yep, that was worth it. And I made the right decision, essentially, going to that, obviously one of the most famous wrestling schools in the history of pro wrestling. So you can't get any better than that, really.
You really can't. No, I can't complain. And they were really good to me and turned me from as cheesy as this is, they helped me grow up. They made me when I went in there, I was 17 years old without a high school diploma. Ross Hart, who's one of the trainers in the dungeon, he was also a teacher and helped me get my high school diploma.
Oh, really?
Taught me how to be a wrestler. So yeah, I became they helped me become an adult and helped me find my potential and really strive for it. So I can never say enough good things about that family.
That's really cool, man. I didn't know that at all. No, obviously that's really cool to know, to be honest. Your first match was against Hannibal.
Yes.
So a lot of fans may know for his interviews and being a famous promoter in Canada as well. I just want to know, what was the first match like for you? The nerves, the coordination. Just what was the process for you?
Well, it was I was working with Matt Rats. That was my first match was with Matt Rats, which was a under 25 promotion, which was supposed to be the first ever like kids only wrestling promotion.
Yeah.
So it was like founded by Teddy Hart, and there were a lot of like big names. Eric Bischoff was involved, and my first match was called by like Don Callis and Joey Styles. And
Really?
Yeah. So it was like,
That's
here
awesome.
I am, like I said, a non-athletic kid,
Yeah.
fairly dramatic. Like I'd been involved in theater and stuff like that, and like drama. So I had that kind of a background, but being thrown in front of these like big name people in front of a giant audience, like a sold out nightclub in Calgary for like my very first match. It was a 4-on-1 or a 5-on-1, and I was so nervous. It was we had planned it and prepared for weeks and weeks and weeks. I was completely convinced I was going to poop my pants or something embarrassing was going to happen. My very first move was I jumped off the top rope and got caught by Hannibal midair in a spear. So not a lockup, not a drop kick or a headlock takeover. It was a mid-air spear that I took as my very first move. And the match went reasonably well. Super nerve-wracking. There was no bathroom in the back, so I had to keep peeing in like fast food cups that I could find randomly. And so, yeah, I'm a nervous peer. So there was definitely a lot of abandoned gross cups in the back. But yeah, it was super like nerve-wracking, but an energy I'd never felt before. Like I felt alive. More than I'd ever felt before, and it was something that I was instantly hooked on. So yeah, it was great.
That's cool, man. Thanks for sharing the P story as well. Didn't
no
think about that being a wrestler. You was actually the last ever Stampede wrestling champion. Can you just let us know about that and what's it essentially like working your way through in Canada?
So being the last Stampede wrestling champion is something I really like hold a lot of pride in. And it's something that I will like tote and like make sure that people will, mention in times. But if you really look back at it, that means that I was the champion I was the champion when the promotion went under, which is not necessarily a highly great thing, but like it sounds great on paper. Still a brag, but yeah, if you put some thought into it, Stampede Wrestling was always something like was the first independent promotion I ever went to. So seeing that and then being able to be part of their shows was super cool. So yeah, I basically I didn't have the money for the dungeon. So basically what happened was they needed people to take bumps and they needed somebody to get basically their ass handed to them. So I was the bump dummy for people like Natalia, like Tyson Kidd, like Harry Smith. So they needed someone to take those bumps. So that was kind of how I earned my way into the dungeon, was by being a person who was willing to take every chop, take every submission hold, take every slam. And then, so from there, they started liking working with me because I took their moves well. And so I started getting opportunities with them on the shows. And then they were fairly high profile names being from Calgary, even though they were just starting out. So that kind of put my name on the map. And then when they moved away and got bigger opportunities, well, then it kind of like trickles down. And then it was like, who's left? And they looked around and they were like, oh, I guess you're the only one left. So I got handed the Stampede Wrestling Championship, which was amazing. And I grew so much within that promotion from like working shows. Like I worked Tyson Kidd in front of 4 people, one of them being Natalia, in a match that started at 11:50 one night and then didn't end until 12:10 the next night. He blew his knee out in the first spot. No one was watching because it was at the same time, it was at a fair, at the same time the fireworks were going off, which was like the most exciting thing.
Not going away at all.
Everyone ran away from our main event. They're like, oh, I got to see fireworks. And then, like I said, he blows out his knee. Ross Hart was our referee, so he was like, well, we got to give the fans that are watching everything that they paid for. So we had to give our full, we had to give our full 20-minute match in front of 4 people. And we gave a great match, so just the same. So I learned how even if there's only 4 people there, you've got to give all you've got to those 4 people. You've got to leave them with a lasting memory. So I learned that within Stampede, and like I said, worked in front of nobody to working at Stu Hart's 88th birthday show, which featured like AJ Styles and all sorts of big names. And so it kind of like from tiny itty bitty shows where no one was there to like big shows that were like marquee shows within Calgary. So it was really a great experience and worked with all sorts of names, and something I hold dearly in my heart.
Do you still have the belt, by the way? Just out of
I
curiosity.
don't. They took it back from me.
Oh.
They did. Yeah, I know, right?
No, that's cool, man. It also made, so by the sounds of it, made you appreciate any size of fans you get, 1 to 100 to 1,000, and I think that's great. When is it that you basically started wrestling in America?
I started wrestling in America. Geez, when I moved out to Vancouver, so I moved out to Vancouver 9 years ago from Calgary because I'd kind of done everything there was to do in the Alberta scene.
Mm-hmm.
And then I wanted to move out west where there was kind of some more opportunities, some different people I hadn't wrestled yet. Yeah. And then from there, was more of a link towards things down in the Oregon area. So I started working with some promotions down there and was given like some opportunities and made some friends down there. And then, yeah, just kind of the ball started rolling from there. And then I kind of was able to cross some other places off my list, like California and Hawaii, and then eventually getting to wrestle in Washington, which is a home away from home now.
Nice. Well, we will be talking about that. Don't worry.
Okay.
I just want to know as well, because you're from Alberta, Canada, and a lot of people would assume that the Hart Foundation were your heroes, or, basically a lot of the Canadian wrestlers, but it was actually Mick Foley, wasn't it?
Yes, indeed.
Someone you looked up to, and you actually got to work with him. I just want to know, what was Mick Foley like to you, and what was it like sharing the same ring with him?
Well, I could never say enough good things about Mick Foley. He's honestly like everything you would want him to be and more. He was the one that like grabbed me. Like I said, I knew wrestling was around, like always growing up. But then when I saw that promo he cut where he was talking to JR, and it was kind of like the lines were really blurred between the Mick Foley character and the Mankind character. He was telling some real life backstory.
Yeah,
and it was
like
a
great promo.
He just felt like he was the first, like he's so masculine, but then he was showing this sensitivity that I had never seen like with somebody that masculine before. I grew up watching horror movies and stuff like that, and he always was like a horror movie style character, but then he had this sensitive, real person side that explained the pain and trauma that made him who he is today. And that was like so psychologically interesting to me.
Yeah.
That I was just drawn in right away to this like character and person. And then the more I got to like learn about his work by reading his books and stuff like that, the more I got enthralled with him. And so then having the opportunity to work with him in PWA, where he was a special guest enforcer in my match, was beyond incredible. Like, he was such a sweetheart. People say don't meet your heroes, but I say just make sure your hero is Mick Foley and then meet him all the time, because he's awesome. Like, so encouraging, and still, like, to this day, we're able to like keep in touch here and there, and he's still like somebody who's got my back, and someone who still to this day inspires me, no matter whether it be through his old wrestling matches or through his cameo or just the energy he brings to the world. It's can be so chaotic. You know what I mean? But
no,
like,
I love Mick Foley. I got to meet him in the UK about 7-8 years ago, and he was just did a comedy tour, and he was nice as he could be, and he was just one of my favorite sort of meet and greets that I've ever had. So for you to praise him and to see the impact he's made in your life, and to be in the same ring with him, I'm not surprised that he's a genuine person.
Yeah, I know he's the best as well. Yeah, I know, it's 100%. He's great.
He's awesome, man. Can I just ask about your theme song, Etta James, At Last? Classic song, 60 years now, I think, 50, it could be wrong. I don't know actually when it came out. What inspired you for that? And I'm not saying it in a negative way. I love it. I fucking love it. I think it's great. And it's got, anytime I see your matches, the fans love it. Yeah. I just want to know what inspired you to choose that as your theme song.
Well, I guess like I've always loved like soundtracks and stuff like that in movies, theme songs for TV shows, and like I really think that is the first thing that people hear. It's the first thing that kind of establishes who you are as a character and resonates like with what you're trying to sell. So I think that theme song is really important. So I've had a whole bunch over my time. With Etta James, that one just was a time where it felt right. I was always picked on for being effeminate, and that was always something that kind of within either wrestling camps or high school or growing up, that I was always just, that's who I was. And so kind of people, that was the thing that they could tease on me for. So it was something I tried to like hide away when I became a wrestler. Because like I said, I thought like there was all these macho characters, and it seemed like that was a place where you could really be macho. And so I would play up trying to be macho. And then I went through some like some mental health issues, and kind of like realizing that the more real I was out there, here I'm getting a platform where I can be as real as I want to be.
Yeah.
And the more real I can be, the more people are going to connect with me. And the more people that I want to connect with me are going to connect with me. So then I was just like, there's so much like angry music and aggressive music played.
Yeah, a lot of people come
like,
out to like Skillet and stuff. Hero.
Yeah, exactly.
But yeah, no, I think you do need to stand out as well.
I love those moments in horror movies where it's like, oh, he froze on me.
Hold on.
Yeah, so it adds another level to it.
Awesome.
There you are.
Yeah, no, oh, sorry. I won't.
So then it was,
so basically, we was talking about.
I was just going to say, so yeah, and James
everyone come out
like
to angry music, and then it just went. I can't remember what you're saying now. I've got a terrible memory, by the way. I do apologise, like a goldfish. So if we just go back to what you're saying about the theme song, Etta James, at last. You're saying because unfortunately, so you were picked on at school because you said you were feminine, and then wrestling, macho, and then you wanted it because of films and stuff, and horror films, and it just has a beauty to it. The song.
Yeah. Just kind of like that, playing that both sides of the coin, rather than just being like, you came to see aggression, here's aggression. You came to see this, and that's what you're getting. Like, I like things that are more well-rounded and showing kind of both sides. So I just gave it a go one time. Etta James, I just thought, you know what, I was trying some different songs out, and that one just kind of stuck, and I absolutely love it. It feels like it really is who I am.
Yeah, I love it. I just think it adds to your unique character. And I want to talk about what been some of your favourite promotions and some of your favourite cities that you've performed in, just before I talk about a place that you've essentially called a second home, DEFY Wrestling. But can you just talk about any other companies that you've enjoyed working for, and any other places that you've been? Yeah, that was really good. I'd like to return there one day.
I really like first thing that jumps into my head is Hood Slam out of Oakland, California. Which is a really fun place that is like a punk rock kind of, there's some cosplay mixed in, really like anarchy style show, but there's this underlying level like we're talking about with Mick Foley of like love and safety, where it's like, it can be wild, but that doesn't mean it's dangerous. So it's this place that's just, it feels like I'm at a punk rock show where I'm in a mosh pit, but I'm at a wrestling show. And the way it's ran, with like the kind of like equality that's shown, and how everybody's welcome, and how it's all about just showing the different colors of the rainbow, and being as much you as you can be. I would say Hood Slam is like a place I definitely want to go back to, and like just think that everyone should check out their work, and because they're not necessarily a big name, but I mean they are, if you're into that kind of niche.
I have heard of them before.
So, I would say
seen them on Botchmania before, and I've seen bits of them on YouTube as well.
Oh yeah, no, definitely, they would pop up there. So, I popped up there, so I mean, it's a good thing.
Oh, on Botchmania. What was that for?
I saw Hood Slam for sure.
Oh right. So
what's that?
Was that? Did you say Botchmania that you popped on there before as well?
I have been on Botchmania. I was on, I think 304. Me and Andy Bird versus the Unbreakable Table. Where we had a table at a show that, like, I think we tried 3 different suplexes on it, and the table just would not break.
So you got the I am the table.
Exactly, yeah. Which I'm proud of.
Cool, man. So I just want to basically ask about DEFY Wrestling. How did you essentially join them? And, you've wrestled some of the biggest names that we see on TV now. Joey Janela, MJF, Tommy Dreamer, Juice Robinson, and a few others as well. Do you feel like this is where you've really perfected your character?
Definitely. It feels like it was a kind of a fresh slate, with where I had kind of grown as an individual and as a performer. So I was given this opportunity in front of a new crowd that didn't have any preconceived notions, and a crowd that was very willing and accepting of who I was and who I wanted to be and who I wanted to show, the sides of me that I was really wanting to give to the audience. So Yeah, I went down to a show because they were just having ridiculously fantastic cards, and then the wrestling fan of me couldn't hold back anymore, so I had to go down and check out a show. So I went down, and it was just, I've been doing wrestling in Canada for a long time, and doing a lot of those like 4-person style shows, and while they hold a big place in my heart, this was just a thing where it felt like it was more of a well-oiled machine. It felt like it was kind of a next level, where it was like things just felt like they were running smoother. It just felt like a bigger show, a bigger deal. And I was really impressed by the way it was being put together and stuff like that. It was being run by a guy named Matt Farmer, or still is, and he's a friend of mine, so I'd worked with him before doing a random show. I picked him up on the side of the highway one time when I was doing a tour down in Idaho, Ohio, somewhere like that. I just met him for the first time. I picked him up on the side of the highway, and then we hit it off right away. So when I found out he was involved, he was nice enough to give me an opportunity. And from that opportunity was it was the new Randy, but it was the old Theo for the first time, which is my real name, getting an opportunity to meld with Randy. And yeah, from there it was like they were nice enough to give me like so many opportunities, and the fans there have been so encouraging and like breathed new life into me. I was at a point where I wasn't sure I was like maybe going to hang up my boots. I wasn't sure what I had left to do within the Vancouver scene or just wrestling in general. And then when I saw DEFY, it reminded me of like why I was here. Yeah, it's that independent promotion that
maybe that like, purpose again.
Again, it's what I talk about. It's like ECW, but from a loving perspective. So it has that family feel, but not such a dysfunctional family feel.
No, definitely, that's a good way of putting it.
So, and it's what I've been looking for all along, and it's that softer side of wrestling, which I think wrestling needs, but it's still, they put on such phenomenal shows, and I could never say enough good things about the people there, and I feel like I was built for DEFY.
And you are the current champion as well. And I know it's been sort of unfortunate circumstance, nothing that you and I can control due to the pandemic. But when it does end and you can defend the title, who are you looking forward to facing as the champion?
Well, the match that got canceled was against Judas Icarus. That was supposed to be the next one that like the pandemic canceled. So I'm not looking past him. He's an upstart from Canada who's got a lot of like great potential and is going to be a star, no doubt. So definitely I want to have beating him on my list of things to do. I've like known Jeff Cobb for a lot of years, and I've never got a tussle with him in the ring. Our styles are quite different, but I think that could make for some magic inside that ring.
Yeah, could mesh that good.
I also think I'd like to wrestle Davey Boy Smith Jr. We haven't wrestled in probably 15 years, but he gave me some of my first matches and gave me some serious ass kickings. So I'd like to return the favor.
That would be good, man. I definitely want to see that. I just want to talk about, it's actually something you just mentioned, and basically leads me to talk about your film, the web series, The Weirdo Hero. Essentially, you talked about nearly wanting to hang up the boots, just sort of doubting yourself before DEFY Wrestling. This came out in 2015, but the project itself, how long had you been sort of developing this unique wrestling base, but dealing with mental health issues? It's actually called the Weirdo Hero web series, in case anyone's didn't catch the title. You can catch it on YouTube, by the way. I'll put the link, but I want to hear from you the process of it. How did you come up with it? What was the production like, the writing, and also being the main star of your own film, basically?
Well, yeah, it was a kind of an interesting story. So I was really suffering with my depression and my mental health. It's been something I've had all along in my life. I've seen therapists and counselors all along and been on a slew of medication my whole life. Yeah. But at this point, I had really kind of let it get away from me and kind of slipped into just the fantasy world that is wrestling and wasn't living in the real world that much. Yeah. And then when wrestling things weren't going that great, it really started to feel like my whole life was shambles. So I went out into the ring, and for the first time ever, I kind of like told a true story about how I was suffering from depression, and came out to the fans and told them that I was going to be taking some time off, but thought it was important that I was clear about what I was doing and why why I was leaving. And then from there, I got like an outreach of just people that were also suffering with different forms of mental illness, and said how much it meant to them that somebody was representing them and speaking up. Yeah. And then one of the wrestlers, former wrestler named MR2, had come to me and he's like, I like your idea. I liked your promo. Would you like to talk to me about maybe turning it into like a movie series, or I'd like to talk to you about something like that. Mm-hmm. So I met with him a couple times, and from there he pitched an idea of turning my promo basically into a web series or a movie. And then from there we kind of shopped around for directors and found someone to attach to the project, a man named Ryan Curtis, who's really awesome and had all sorts of great credits from Supernatural behind him. So it was like a legitimate dude. Yeah. And then he handled kind of the production level, and we went into writing, and the three of us kind of came up with a script. Mm-hmm. And then I was able to kind of tell my story, and they gave me the platform to do so, which was something I wasn't expecting when I went out and did that promo. I was just thinking I wanted to leave wrestling, but then being honest, me being truthful ended up giving me another opportunity. And I took that opportunity, and then that kind of was able to in turn help some other people, which is just mind-blowing, and was able to help me crawl out of my depression, because kind of put things in terms, kind of I understood, like I could see it from another perspective. I was playing Fabulous Frankie in their movie, so it was kind of an offshoot of who I am. Yeah, I was married in it and had a job that I would never have,
and getting sort of people being addicted to you in the office.
Exactly. So it was just so I was able to look at it from a different angle, and then it kind of made me realize, like, I went and got help, and I'm still currently always an advocate for getting help, however that is for you. Yeah. And so from there, it helped me grow, and then I was able to become. It added another layer of reality to my performances, and stopped having to have to put on a mask when I was going out there sometimes, and then show some true vulnerability, which I think is very hard to do, but it's so rewarding.
Because a lot of fans can relate to that, because I think mental health awareness is very important. As a host myself, someone, I'm on sort of happy pills, just going to put it that way, and I think it is important to talk about it. And in the film, you've got sort of like an animated character, sort of self-doubt, and he's just always, basically just being a complete knob and just making things worse for you. As you're the world champion in ECCW, but you still got financial struggles. You've seen a wrestler on the TV, they one that you knew, and they died. And then your wife in the film, she's trying to be positive, but there's only so much you can do, and then go to the office. And I think so many people can relate to this film, because we all, not necessarily like if you're a wrestler, but as a fan myself, we have jobs and stuff, and you've got that self-doubt. And I think that's why this film's very important, and I really enjoyed it. And so I think that's why I'm glad I get to talk to you about it. And I think, the fact that I think you can appreciate that I appreciate it, and I really enjoyed it as well. What was the feedback like from the wrestling community? So I know you said you got feedback for your promo, and people reaching out to you, including fans as well. But what was the feedback like after you released it, and how did you feel as an actor and someone who was heavily involved with the film?
Well, the reaction was great. Like, I'm still like, this is 6 years later, and I'm still having like incredible compliments like the one you just gave me from people that have just maybe like recently seen it and is still able. The great thing about the internet is always out there. It can it can touch people for years to come, right? Or help them. And so that is just, the community was great. More wrestlers came forward, and more fans than I would have imagined that were also suffering, which the voices, or the rabbit, as it were, in this film tells you that you're alone. You know what I mean? And that you're the only one suffering. Yeah. But the more you can go out there and tell the world maybe you're hurting too, then people will come forward and mention that they're hurting. A little bit of vulnerability get shared, right? They'll be more vulnerable with you. Mm-hmm. And so it just was like, as an actor and as a performer in general, I just think it was one of the most rewarding things I've ever done, because I was able to give back and tell some truth within a fake story, which I think is like, again, all we keep talking about the same thing, blurring those lines between, you know, reality and truth, but making sure there's a heart behind it. So yeah, the fact that it could, like, I honestly, as cheesy as it is, if it could help one person, that's all I was looking for. And I've heard from probably close to 100 people that have said that they've enjoyed it and it's helped them. So that's more than enough.
Have you ever thought about a sequel? Because
a sequel.
I don't know. I want to tell the ending, but I feel now I'm going to plug the film. Potentially, or prequel, if I put it that way. Basically, could there be a film linked to this, or would you be interested in doing another film?
I definitely
similar
be interested
to this, basically.
Okay, so if there was, I don't know, a sequel would be hard. I think would be hard to do, but maybe it could be the story of a guy who's dealing with his issues. You know what I mean, and still finds the joy in everyday life. You know what I mean? That story was really talking about how I hadn't necessarily made it to that next level and how that was a struggle, but I had fun when I was wrestling in front of 4 people. We talked about that earlier.
Yeah.
I enjoy that. And if you can find the fun in what you're doing and not try and hold it to be where should I be or comparing yourself to others, then wrestling in front of 4, I'm wrestling my trainer, one of the people I idolize, in front of another person who I idolize. Who cares how many other people are there? This is for us to a certain degree. So I think there could be a sequel where it's kind of just the acceptance of who you are and still going through struggles, because we're all going to go through those struggles, but kind of looking at the good stuff too, looking at the flower that's growing out from the cement and appreciating the moments that we have right now, like talking to you right now, meeting new friends, sharing stories.
You know, it's I like what you said, and for me, like, I'm not getting any money out of this, you know, and I'm doing it because I genuinely love talking to people, and I love talking about wrestling and things outside of wrestling and acting as well. And I think it's awesome. You do improv as well, and you know you've got drama experience. I just want to know, if you was to finish wrestling, would you be looking to get into acting full time, or would you want to become a coach? What would you essentially want to do if you was to hang up the boots?
See, I think I'll always be a wrestler. And that doesn't mean I'm going to be wrestling till I'm 100, but I don't think you can take that part out of me. You know what I mean? I think it'll always be there. So I'd love to be able to pass on my knowledge, and I've loved training people. I'd love to build like another generation of weirdo heroes, but like who want to express themselves however they want to express themselves. I'd love to encourage that next generation and put Canada on the map. We're known for our wrestlers, but we're not necessarily known for our wrestling promotions currently. And I'd love for there to be something like that is a promised land for us. Like the UK's really picked up in the last 10 years wrestling wise.
And that's one reason I like DEFY Wrestling, is because it's so similar to Progress Wrestling. And I know Progress have done shows with your company as well.
Totally, yeah.
So like we have got quite a strong fan base, and a lot of companies, obviously we have been impacted by the pandemic, but who hasn't, you know? Exactly.
And I think that those seeds are still there. They might be like dormant or hibernating right now, but when things are good to go again, they'll pop. So I want to see something like that in Canada. I know how many people have, like, how much it's been a struggle for me to go to other places, and how many times I've been told, oh, you want to be a famous wrestler, why don't you move to the States or Japan or Mexico? It's like, well, I don't know if I need to, like, I'm not saying that that's not a great opportunity for other people, but why can't we have that opportunity here where we grow so much talent here? We have a fan base here. Why can't we have something here? So if I could, like, if I were to leave tomorrow and be able to leave to start a new legacy or something, it would be trying to affiliate, like trying to help coordinate something to put Canada back on the map as a wrestling promotion, not just a great place that breeds great wrestlers and we send them other places.
America just takes them.
Or Japan, or you know, like, for example, like El Phantasmo. I saw him years ago in Vancouver, and he was here for so long, and he was great for years, and then not until he got over to the UK did he kind of start getting his name out there, and then was able to get to New Japan and things like that. I was on those shows with Tyson Kidd, in front of 4 people. There's so much talent up here that goes unrecognized because for some reason the spotlight isn't on Canada. It's on Canadians when they leave, and I'd love to change that.
Never really thought about that, to be honest. As you say, now you said it. I mean, I was sort of someone that was just obsessed with the Hart family and Canadian wrestlers, even like Test, and like I know he's not very popular at the moment, but Val Venus. I liked him as a kid. But,
yeah, no, me too.
But yeah, no, that's a good point. I never really thought about it until you've explained to me, sort of.
It's kind of unfortunately across the entertainment board in Canada. If you really take a look at it, from people like even like our actors like a Jim Carrey, or like a lot of Canadian actors will only be able to make it big once they go to America and do an American project or something like that. There's not a lot of opportunities here for that stuff. So if I don't have the say in the whole world, but if I could push wrestling a little bit, that would be great.
There's plenty of time, man.
Yeah.
What have you actually been doing sort of during the pandemic to keep yourself occupied, by the way? Because I know as a wrestler, this must be so difficult for you. I myself have been working from home, so I've got that luxury, but like I couldn't imagine like what some of you, so the impact it's had on some of your lives.
Oh yeah, it's been, just because like you said, I've been doing this for 20 years, and so it's been like a big part of every week, whether it be training or shows or whatever, right? Daily life has been affected by not being able to wrestle. So it's hard, but I've been training. I found like I'm lucky enough to have some room in my basement where I'm able to like set up my own personal dungeon, as it were, and do my own workouts down there. That's what I was doing before we got on this podcast, where I'll go after this. So that's been getting my aggression out and making sure I'm able to keep that in check, sweating and keeping that heart rate up. And then I've been working on like doing some different, I have been working on writing a film. I've been working on some comedy acts. I've done some stand-up comedy that I was doing for a short time after when wrestling was over, but when we were still allowed to talk in public, but now we're not allowed to talk in public. So
it's like a yo-yo effect, isn't it?
Exactly. So I was really loving that and diving deep into that and doing like trying to get on shows weekly for that. So I'm still writing that. I'm doing crafts all the time. And tonight, actually, I'm debuting my first ever stop motion animation on a little thing out of Calgary. That's like, so I made a little film using some of the needle felt creatures I've been creating. So I'm staying creative as best I can.
Keep yourself busy. Now, I saw you advertise that on your Instagram. I will have to check that out. Definitely, man.
Definitely. I'll be putting the link up, and like I'll be putting the video up at some point too. Just a little something that I made just to, like I said, keep myself busy. And
stop motion is hard. It's pretty hard. I did film editing for a bit, and I know it's not easy. So for you to do that, fair play.
Yeah,
I'm looking forward to it as well.
Awesome. So yeah, just I'm trying to keep my spirits up. There's so many things. I've always been like a very ADD minded person who has a lot of like ideas, and then they come and they go, they come and they go. So that's fortunate. So there's other things I like to do that I can kind of dive into when one thing kind of gets put on hold.
I've just got a few more questions, and then I'll let you go because I've enjoyed this, mate. This has been really good. Me too. Really fun. I just want to know, can you explain the look that you have? So you got the shirt around you, Chuck Taylor's, and the unique hair reminds me of like Heath Ledger's Joker. But then you've got like the raccoon eyes, and it's great. It's great. Like stick out like a sore thumb, and that's what you want in wrestling. I just want to know, basically what's inspired you to have the presentation that you have.
Well, it's been a long time coming, so it's kind of been like trickled in over the years. As you can see from if you were to see my very first match, the one we talked about earlier, it was none of that stuff. It was just like raw clay. But I've always been super into like punk rock and things that look different.
Oh, you used like a massive mohawk, didn't you? Like massive.
Yeah, it was like, I think the tallest it was like 14 inches at one point or something like that. So, which was just a pain in the butt to keep up. I used to try everything. One time I tried glue in it, and then I wasn't able to sweat because the glue kept my sweat in my head. And so like I started getting like all woozy. Yeah, that was a pain. But then I just kind of like evolved the look over time, and then kind of just brought in things that I liked, and it just started to put like something to like cover up the rings around my eyes or like the wrinkles. So I put on the raccoon makeup. And then the hair, I've been dyeing my hair wild color since I was 13. So that's kind of always been part of who I am.
Yeah.
And then the flannel is an easy throwback. I bet we can guess who that's to. It's to Mick Foley.
Bang, bang.
Bang, bang. Yeah. And then a little bit to Piper as well, because I was fortunate enough to work on a reality show with Roddy Piper. And
really?
he was really cool to me. And so I just figure, where that's where I wear it around the waist kind of represents the kilt too.
Oh, I didn't know that. That's pretty cool, man.
And it's got the grunge look too, so it just kind of fits together.
Oh, sweet, man. It's like a sort of like a canvas, and you're just putting all your favorite bits onto one bit, and then here's the painting. No, that's
bingo, awesome. Man. Exactly that. Like I'm my own motivation board or whatever, a vision board kind of, I guess is what it is. If you put everything on a vision board that I wanted to do as a kid or be as a kid, I think I've achieved a lot of those things. I always looked up to the weirdo, the one who stood out, and the one who was proud to be themselves. And I think I've become those things. So pretty great.
Nah, that's good, man. That's why you have the following you do. So let's wrap this up then officially.
Okay.
Let's talk about how it is that you do fight depression on a daily basis. Because I know you said it's an ongoing struggle. And I think a lot of people need to realize depression isn't just something you get for Christmas and it's gone. So I didn't mean to try to be funny about that. It's just
no. I think it's important to be funny. I think that's
because I just sort of this is actually the first time that I've ever spoke about it in the podcast, and I think it's one thing I've sort of gravitated towards you and sort of reaching out to you as well. I just want to know how it is that you personally deal with it on a daily basis.
Cool, great question. I really appreciate you giving me a platform to talk about this. It is hard. It's hard on the daily. I try. My diet's really important. I really try and I find that if I'm eating healthy and running my kind of machine, as it were, at its full capacity or feeding it the right fuels, it's less likely to kind of go into those slumps. If I'm not giving myself sugar highs, then I'm not likely to come and have that sugar low afterwards. I can kind of keep myself baselined if I've got the right fuel in me at all times.
Yeah.
Like I mentioned earlier, working out is such an important part for me. I actually am an aggressive person, or I hold a lot of anger or hurt or something inside of me that kind of can come out, and I don't ever want to lash out at people. So I find that I need an outlet where I can get that aggression out. That's a safe outlet.
Yeah,
and I find those are rare, and that's what wrestling is to me so much. Where I can be my wildest, craziest, most over-the-top self, and I'm not scaring anyone.
No, you get cheered for it.
Yeah, right. Where else can I do that? Where I could be 900% me and be in a ring and be showing my quote-unquote aggression while being safe at the same time, putting somebody else's life in my hand that I care about. I'm not going to hit them as hard as I can, because that's not what it's about. So it's about aggressive control. So wrestling's a big part of that. We said finding the funny. I think that's super important.
Yeah.
Lately, I've been thinking about that's you got the fight or flight kind of reactions. Fight, flight, or they're saying freeze too. But I think funny's important. How many times has that gotten me out of those situations where I've been able to laugh and it's lighten the mood? That's the only reason we have laughter. There's no scientific reason besides that than to alleviate stress and to bring up our moods and endorphins. We have so many of these chemicals inside of us, which we can unlock by working out, by being around our friends, by laughing, by smiling, by dancing.
Yeah.
And those are kind of natural antidepressants.
Yeah.
So the more we can I personally can tap into those, the better my day is.
That's good, man. Because I think you do get some people in wrestling, and I'm not going to name any names because I don't want to sort of badmouth individuals, but they would rather wrestling just be serious and just, black and white, good guy, bad guy, no color whatsoever. And I just don't think that's a good way to sort of, set the tone of a show, because at the end of the day, we're all different. We all don't want to sort of be the same. And I think that's why, fans sort of enjoy your work, enjoy your entrance, enjoy, just seeing you do your thing, enjoy what you put out as a film, Fabulous Frankie. And there's going to be a lot more coming out, hopefully. Is that?
Unfortunately, there will be. I can almost guarantee that.
Nah, mate, there's no unfortunate for that one, mate. The stuff you produce is good. Your matches are great. Basically, my personal favourite match of yours is against Joey Janela. What is your favourite match, and who have been some of your favourite opponents to sum up your career so far?
I love that match too. Janela was super fun. He's a wild one. You know what I mean? He reminds me of a modern day, like he reminds me of Piper's essence a little bit in the way that just you don't like when you zig, he zags. You know what I mean? He's always kind of like he's a wild man, a bad boy as it were. But yeah, I'm a big fan of his. Who else do I really like my matches I've got to work with? Kazarni, who I've really liked. He's fantastic. Sin Bodhi, we think alike because we're both weirdos. He's been really fantastic.
He's crazy, but he's cool. He is cool.
Exactly. He's the right kind of crazy. Dreamer. We mentioned Tommy Dreamer earlier. That was like such a, like I said, I love ECW growing up, and he represents ECW, like he's the heart of it.
He probably put you over as well, didn't he, at the end of the match?
Yeah, he was what a guy, right? Like I loved working with him. Obviously, like I said, Tyson Kidd and all the people I worked with growing up, and that kind of formed me. And my first match with a name was Christopher Daniels, and I can't say enough good things about him either. Like he's so cool and such a professional. He was in the back. I'm so used to wrestlers being so nervous and like going over their match and talking to themselves and being so in their head. And he was like singing and walking around and being all friendly with everybody. So that was really cool to see how somebody on his level could be just comfortable. And so, yeah, I would never have enough good things to say about Christopher Daniels as well. And MJF, what a fucking deal. Sorry, I swore. I'm sorry. But like,
how much is that off gimmick, man? Like, I'm not trying to be like, I'm not trying to like break down the character, but like, it's so believable. But how much is that him actually a prick or not?
Man, he was like, I loved working with him. I thought it was like a really great opportunity, but I don't think there's any way that you could be that sincere with a gimmick and not have a little bit of that inside of you. You know what I mean? I don't think I could play the character I play if I wasn't playing me. You know what I mean? So I don't think he could be playing that character so well if there wasn't a little bit of a
little prickish in him
inside. Yeah.
He like, I want to cheer him because I do like heels, but even there's a limit with him, man. Like he's a dick. But he's good at his job. He's good at his job.
He's so good.
And that's what makes him special. And speaking of MJF, who's currently in AEW, now 5-10 years ago, the only place probably most people want to go to is WWE. But now, the last good few years now, you can survive on the independent scene. And I know you've had a try at WWE, haven't you, before?
Yeah.
What was that like? Did you enjoy the experience? Did it make you want to go back for another one, or was it just not for you?
I've been like fortunate to have a couple of tryouts actually. So I did.
Oh, okay.
My first one was in 2009, and that was a really cool experience because I went down and they brought in like so many different names to do like lectures for us each day, and I learned from like Jericho was brought in and Christian was brought in and John Cena came in and like were giving us like we could ask them questions one-on-one. That was awesome.
That's pretty cool. Yeah. At
that point, Dusty Rhodes was still alive and working with the company like very strongly with FCW at the time, and so we were doing promos for him every day and having Dusty Rhodes like cut down our promos or whatever, and he took a shine to me. He liked me, and which blew me away. So like on promo time, he'd have me go twice sometimes to like and see what I could do, like ad libs, like not written promos and stuff. So it was really cool. And then I was fortunate enough actually to get a contract with them that year in 2000.
Oh, right. Sorry, I didn't know that, mate. I do apologize.
Okay. No, don't worry about it, man.
Like a terrible interviewer now.
I got a contract in 2009, and actually Hannibal, oddly enough, was at that tryout as well, and he also got a contract. So neither of us knew this, and we showed up in St. Louis for our physical and our drug tests and stuff like that, and I walk into the doctor's office, and there's Hannibal sitting there, and blew my mind. And here's the guy I had my first match with, and I'm showing up for WWE, my first day to like sign in with WWE or whatever, and then he's there. We both failed the drug test. He had some issues, and then I failed for marijuana. Yeah, and then they said, "Get out of here. Get to stepping Cheech and Chong." So, that was it. Then, unfortunately, there was a miscommunication. I thought that it was going to be a fine, and they thought it was worth terminating me over.
Considering you've got people like Matt Riddle on the roster right now, and other wrestlers that are known to
It was 2009, so like that was quite a while.
Yeah, probably would have been a bit more strict then. Yeah, no, that's
totally.
I wasn't actually laughing about you sort of getting the sack, by the way. I was just laughing at the Cheech and Chong thing. Made me laugh.
Totally good.
But,
yeah, that was again the joke.
Do you have any tryouts afterwards? After that,
Then I went down again for another tryout, which was similar thing. So it was like a paid tryout where you paid like a couple $1,000s to get a look at by WWE. So that was what I done.
That's a lot.
Yeah, that's what I done in 2009, and then I think I did it again in 2012. That was a totally different set of people down there, and I found that opportunity or that time not nearly as much fun. We only got the opportunity to cut one promo at the very end. The rest of it was a lot of like in-ring drills with people that were kind of more drill sergeant-y than kind of like fun, which I had really liked the camaraderie of the first group. So it didn't work out as well. Maybe I wasn't in the right place for it at that time or whatever, so that didn't really work out.
Yeah.
And then actually I was brought in as like an extra for a WWE show one time and had like a little bit of a tryout there. And that was, again, a fun opportunity where like I got to do a promo for Paul Heyman. He read on my resume that I could juggle. So he came over to me at catering and handed me 3 oranges and was like, I want you to just juggle these all day. You never know. Vince could walk by at any moment. And if he sees the guy juggling, he's like, who's the juggling guy? We need to hire the juggling guy. So there I am, just juggling 3 oranges all day because Paul Heyman told me to. So that was really cool. I got some really great compliments from Stryker and some different people that were working there at the time. So that was cool. Nothing came of that, but still like, great opportunity.
You got to juggle some oranges because of Paul Heyman. Like, how many people can say that?
Exactly. So yeah, it was super fun. I love this stuff. I've got to go like the Hall of Fames and different things with WWE being affiliated with the Harts over the years. Like had some cool opportunities, and Tyson Kidd granted me some opportunities. So has Natalia, and it's just been it's from the outside. There's lots of things that are obviously wrong with anything. But when you're kind of backstage and you're at a show, that show atmosphere, it's a bunch of kids. I've seen Stone Cold before, like the Hall of Fame, before his Hall of Fame speech, like acting like a little kid and like goofing around and stuff. So the bottom line is that it's cool. Like WWE, there's negatives about it and positives, but I've had fun every time I've gone, learned.
I was going to say, like, even though, essentially it didn't work out your way, but you're speaking positive about it. And not many people can even brag about getting like, even like a look in or even getting like a foot in. So, I enjoyed hearing that. It's good. And I like the fact you're still positive about it, man. That's awesome. So,
I mean, like Dusty Rhodes is like another one of my people that like, I never thought I'd get that opportunity.
For him to be a fan of you as well.
Yeah, and he was the one that kind of like flew me in. Like I said, I've been called effeminate a lot and teased for it, but he kind of brought it up in a positive way. He brought up how I reminded him of Dustin in some ways, or my mannerisms. And then those weren't mannerisms I was showing off. Those were mannerisms I was hiding. Those were ones he saw outside of the ring. And he let me see them as a positive thing. And that if Dusty Rhodes thinks this is a good thing, maybe I should give it a chance and be who I am. He saw me for who I was and encouraged that. And because of that, I am who I am now. So, yeah, I can't say bad things.
That's awesome. And he's not lying as well, because like Cole Cabana has straight up said, Dusty wasn't a fan of him. So, and for him to give you that feedback, that's great.
Totally. I love Cole too. He's great.
That's cool. He's been to the UK before. I'm still just a mark though. I'm a fanboy, but I thought I'd create my podcast and talk to wrestlers that way. But so I want to thank you for your time today. It's been an excellent talk. It's been so different to what I'm used to, and it's made me appreciate you as a person, you as a talent, and mental health in general. What's next for the Weirdo Hero, Randy Myers?
What is next? Well, like I said, I'm probably going to finish my workout. Tonight is my first stop motion animation, so that's coming up. I've got more art projects on the go. I'm working on a music video right now for actually a new theme song, so there'll be no copyright problems if I should ever land on TV. Just saying.
Is that a hint? Is that a hint?
Maybe, I don't know. It's not a hint, but I want to and this couldn't hurt. So I've got a music video on the way, more art projects. I'd say stay tuned to my Instagram account. It's probably the best way to kind of see what other kind of weirdness I've got coming down the path. But lots more wrestling, more movies, more weirdness, and more love, hopefully.
Awesome, dude. Where can fans find you on social media?
Boom. I'm at the Weirdo Hero on Instagram, at Ravenous Randy on Twitter. If you want to add me on Facebook, I don't think I'm maxed out. So Randy Myers, go ahead and you can shoot me DMs. And if anyone's interested in like reaching out or wants to, look into, I've got a Square site so you can pick up T-shirts and stuff like that there. There's merch opportunities. So yeah, anything you want, if you come at me, I'm fairly open book and I'd love to hear from you. So
awesome, man. And that's how we got this conversation today. And you're appearing on another episode of What You Call It. And to wrap this up, I'm your host, GB. I hope everyone stays safe. And the next time you and I have a conversation, it's when you come to the UK. We're having a beer and we're having a laugh. But until then, stay safe, mate.
You got it.